It's the first time I've connected to GitHub.
I mean, a code of that.
Breakthrough, man.
Yeah.
Breakthrough.
Rick, go ring the bell with that. I
Go ring the
connected to
bell.
GitHub.
Yeah,
We
I'm
died.
I'm confused by it. Good,
I'm very confused.
good job, buddy.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I live for your appreciation.
I mean, Jason was still awesome.
He's a plus plus.
So,
You guys remember that question on the syntax plus plus I versus I plus plus?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a question?
was there a question in there, or
Well, he answered it, yes. He said
If-
yes.
we get time, I'll share out some interview questions.
Oh, we're not gonna get time.
You're so pessimistic.
After Battleship,
You're so pessimistic.
I mean, we're a bunch that asking a lot of questions. So.
I'm ready for it. Almost.
Alright, first question.
First question.
Did you create your database before you went in?
Not yet. I've not created my database.
But you have to create the database on your own, right?
Correct.
It's not being created inside.
Correct. All the rules, commands, and ideas that we covered Monday with ORMS, and also Tuesday with ORMS. So,
Okay, so that means that we have to add entity.
yep, gotta add editing, gotta add our NPG SQL stuff,
Context. Do we need
gotta make a context.
a terminal thing to
Yes.
through stuff?
What?
But
Oh,
we
you
can
don't-
put
you
them
don't-
all in the
You
same
don't need
one.
a terminal program to enter in anything.
Okay.
That was just how to interact.
Yeah, that was just how we're taking that terminal interaction that we did on Monday and Tuesday, and we're replacing it with an API.
But we still have to do the database update and the database migration.
Correct.
I'd just like to see how to get everything started first.
Yeah, so so I created my thing. I created my project here. I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna add entity framework.
Where is that at?
I'm gonna add that. All right, so now I'm also going to create my database while I'm here. Safari Adventure.
That's what I did, Safari Vacation too.
So I'm going to take that. And then I'm going to scaffold out my context. .NET EFDB scaffold, server localhost, database Safari Adventure, what driver I'm using, and then what I'm going to call the context. Nothing too crazy. We've done this before.
Are you creating it from scratch?
Yep. This
I thought you
is
said we weren't gonna use Postgres.
Hey, that's me. Gus?
Well,
Where are you looking at?
what was that, Lexi?
In the homework, it says we're not gonna use Postgres or whatever. I thought it might be easier to delete the database in Postgres and recreate it using the new project,
Yeah, recreate it for the new project.
but you're still using Postgres.
Yes.
Oh, Postgres is easy on you hackers, right?
Wait, do we have to do the add package Microsoft entity?
There it is.
I already did that.
Can I see the,
Where was it? Added Microsoft here, added Postgres here.
the reason I ask is it seems to be
might be easy to train you to others.
So now I got my context made inside of my API project, right? So now let's head in here.
sharing with you. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Came by to say hi.
How you doing?
So they're starting this whole side.
Yeah, so here we are. We are going to be adding.
I saw that in
Let's blow this up a little bit.
So how, just so I understand, when we just did context
Uh-huh.
and then we put it in this, that's how we connected the database to it?
So we have our context set up inside of our web API project. So we need to set up our database now, right? So we have our database DB context. We need to create our models. How do we create our models?
We create a file, a POGO.
Yep, create a folder that has a POCO inside of it.
You recording?
I am recording.
When would we do it again?
That's my question. Why would we delete the other one?
So if you want to reuse what you have, you're going to have to take off all the migrations and re-add the migrations over here.
To delete to be able to
Yeah.
connect it?
Yeah, because you have already migrations there, but the migration history won't line up.
Should it be Safari Animals or Safari Animals?
It should be animal scene animals. That's what we call it, right?
Is it singular or plural?
Scene animal.
I don't think it matters as long as you say it now.
Right, but I think we're gonna.
Making it consistent.
Yeah.
Public class scene animal. What was part of the scene animal?
ID.
Species.
Species. Last seen.
Count of time seen?
Or count of times gone.
Then integrate.
Also,
Last
location.
location, last scene. Right.
I think that's it, right?
Is extinguished.
Mike, we got a daytime field in there.
Just real.
You and your daytime.
Just see, I told you it wasn't. We've been noticing you, Chris.
Well, I
You
actually
paid
said
it.
that because he said that before.
Well, you were talking about it like on the break earlier too.
Since he was born, he's talking about it.
Since the daytime he was born.
Yeah.
Just because he's never had a date, so he likes the word date.
Oh, see, that's just me.
That is mean. You went too far, like.
I'm sorry.
Like you were the line.
There's-
Really, Alexis, you said that?
Shut up.
There's that line. So here we have our scene animal.
There's no line anymore now.
There's always a line. I want to add it to my context. So public db set scene animal. Thumbs up so far? Migrations next, correct? .NET, EF migrations, added scene animal table. Oops.
Too late.
So to take the POGO and do this information and add it to the database, you really don't need to run the application. You don't need to do a .NET run.
Right, we haven't actually run it yet. We're just using the Entity Framework tools to actually make the database.
Tables,
Yeah. Yes. .NET,
database.
EF, database, update. All right, so we head down to PGCLI. What I call it, Safari.
You're about to do a flag U.
Yeah, I was. Safari Adventure, PGCLI, Safari sorry, adventure, and then data tables. Ooh, what's that? I don't know what that is. Let's check on the migrations. Let's see what the migrations made us. Nothing looked crazy. So let's just rock out with it. At a certain point, you need to trust the framework to do things for you. So like if this was a real project, I put a pin in that and go, why is it doing that? It's fine for right now, but I'm going to come back to that. So what's my next point of action? What?
Go ahead.
Yeah, we have the database created. We have our context created. We have migration with the tables there. Let's do some endpoint work. Let's create some endpoints, right? How's that sound? So let's create an endpoint. Let's create it for ourselves.
Commit. Is that usually your workflow? Is you do the models first, then you do controller, then you do the views, or is it really just whatever seems right?
It's whatever feels right, and kind of however we're approaching this. This problem was framed to us by a almost database first approach. Like we care about the data, then create a wrapper around it. In the real world, if it feels better to write the controllers first, then write the controllers first. For your final project, I almost recommend writing the controllers first. Like here's my endpoints, so I can start hitting those and working with real data. But really, it's whatever feels good. Jason?
So are you starting from scratch for this one? In terms of the database?
Yeah. So I want to create a new controller. So I'm going to create something, call it animalcontroller.cs. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit and bring over all the usings from my other file.
From value?
Yep,
From where?
from value.
From value controller, values controller.
I'm also going to bring over the class definition as well, because I want to take advantage of that scaffolding. So now we have an empty controller that doesn't do anything. You know, there's nothing inside of it. But it is, we're saying it lives, its endpoint is /API/animal. How we feeling?
So it's a value controller, but you created an animal controller because you're just dealing with animals. It's just
Because that's going to turn into my URL. So I don't want all my URLs to be /API/values. I want my URL to be something a bit more meaningful. So now my URL is API/animal. Because I'm putting all my animal stuff in here. We also had locations, right? So if I was going to deal with locations, I'd make a locations controller. Where all my CRUDing locations would happen inside of there.
how would you tie the two together? So if I say, animal is this, when was the last location that I seen it? Those are two different.
So it depends on what you're asking. So am I asking for give me a location? Or am I saying give me all animals for a location? Because if I'm saying give me a location, I'm going of course to the location controller.
But if I'm asking
For animals
and location,
I would go to the animals controller.
and in there you would
Yeah.
you pull in the information from the location API or
Yep.
controller.
Yep, this is what you're exposing to your end user. Who's your end user in an API? a JavaScript developer. So it could be probably yourself at some point. For your final project, it will be yourself. You know, week after you graduate, it could be somewhere, it could be somebody else. But here your end user is another developer. So let's create our first basic Git here. Right? We're going to have public. I'm going to bring this over. Instead of me typing everything out over and over and over again.
Should be for the first couple.
What, type everything out?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to create an endpoint that doesn't do anything. It just returns to me a list of strings. Eventually, we're going to weasel our way and connect the database and the API. But for right now, we're doing something new. Let's make sure that the API works. So let's make sure that I can do a GET request to this endpoint and get that array of strings back. All right. How would I do that? Let's use Postman. So if I bring up Postman,
You have to run it.
yeah, it's its own separate app. Its own separate app.
No, then you have to run the MVC.
I will. I totally forgot to.
So you download the app
Yep.
on your computer.
Yep. So, as Chris pointed out, we're gonna run this. Now that we're out of console,
How does it run?
Done.
now that we're out of the console, I like to use that watcher. I know we talked about the watcher day one that always like constantly like rebuilds your app and is always running your app. For console applications that's not useful for me because I actually want to watch it run. I actually want to be there whenever it runs. But here, But here, I like to have it always building in the background, so I can just make a change and go to Postman to see it happen. Except when I get a compiler error like this.
134.
Oh, address already in use.
That's quick. So you gotta close 5001.
Yeah, so I already have something running on port 5001. It's probably this one. Yep. So let's.
So are those ports predefined?
Yep.
In other words,
You can change them
okay.
if you wanted to.
I'm just thinking like if this is a real application and the end user has multiple applications, that there might be a conflict.
Oh yeah, like it's configurable. Postman. So this has given us a port in the URL, right? We're now serving on localhost 5001. So snag that, bring it over to our Postman. Remember, I'm doing a GET request, right? So I want to do a GET. I want to go to that address. And what's the endpoint of my controller? API / animals. Animal.
And that's just the name
Animal
of
controller?
Yep.
your controller.
Yep, minus the word controller.
Okay.
Animal.
So we're getting all animals. That's awesome. That is awesome. That hurt.
It was close, huh?
Got excited. Yep. That's why water bottles should always have lids on them.
So just so I'm following, we created it in VS Code, you're running it in the terminal, and then this is reading it from the terminal you're running it in.
Yes.
Because that's why it's on localhost 5001.
Yes, because we're running it on our local computer.
If you didn't have it running, would you be able to find it?
No, if it wasn't running, it would give me I can't find it, like a 500 or 404. It was 404.
But technically, you wouldn't
Return anything
From zero.
because it's not running.
technically you're running a mini web server
Yep.
inside.
Yep.
So
That wasn't
when
bad then.
Yes, you are running a little web server on your laptop. Yeah,
I missed the part where, how did you define animal? How did you,
so that's the controller name.
oh, that's the controller?
Yeah, you know when I created
Oh, okay.
a new controller, I named it animal controller?
Yeah,
That's where the animal's coming from.
okay.
So the last piece to this puzzle is database, right? How do we query a database?
You create an instance of that database.
I create an instance of the database context, right? New, what was it called? Safari Adventure context. And now if I want to get all the animals, I want to return db.character, scene animals, right? We don't want to return an IEnumerable of strings anymore. We want to return an IEnumerable of.
Animals.
Yep. So now we're making a request that's starting in Postman. It's a GET request. It's coming to our controller. It's finding that GET method. And then it's connecting to our database, running that query of select all, and then it's converting that response to a JSON and returning it back to Postman.
How does it know which? Because you have to define the model as ID, names, last species, last
Yep.
scene count.
Yep.
How does it know what it's going to return? The
I'm
whole thing?
returning a list of animals.
So no
Type animals.
Yep.
I've seen animals.
run.
What, run it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I should run it.
Show me.
That was very forceful.
We don't have any animals.
Yeah, I don't think you put it in anymore.
It's got to be empty.
Okay.
So it's
Okay,
working.
so
It's
I wanna
working.
use my old one.
Yeah. So,
This is
but now, let's put some data in there.
table plus.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. You know, let's do this. Let's do this. So that's going to be a post, right? Because we want to add something here. Where'd it go? So HTTP post public. We want to return something here. We're not quite sure yet, right? Because we haven't made it, we don't know what we want to return. So let's just put object there for now. And then it's going to be our post. So if we add an animal, we want to add what species it is, right? So we're going to say from body string species.
When did we instead of post we put? Isn't put the one that update the database?
So put is for updating. We're creating a new animal
It's
here.
entirely new thing.
Yep.
That's in the next line, next line.
So after species, you're gonna put count, the last location, whatever it is.
So that being said, those rules about getting being getting, putting being updating, posting being creating, and deleting being deleting, those are only guidelines.
Convention once again.
Yeah.
You
it's
can
just-
tweak it here to make sure get is not gonna be updating and post.
Yeah,
gonna be-
we could set this so that
Okay.
our posts don't do anything. We can set it so that our gets delete something while updating something else. Yeah, our APIs would suck and be unmaintainable and be hard to use, but that's programming.
Like the pet finder.
What?
Like the pet finder one.
Yes. So now we're bringing in a string from the body, and we want to create a new animal, right? New animal equals new scene species. Scene animal. Set the species equal to species. What else do we have in here? We have
Location.
location. Africa. Outside.
Outside.
Count of times seen equals 1, and date time and time. What do I call it?
Count of time seen last.
Last seen at. So I'm going to show you a nice little trick here.
I just saw, yeah, what did you just do there?
You just clicked in.
Oh, that wasn't the trick, but
I want to see that trick.
so the trick is just like in JavaScript. If you hold Command and hover over something and click it, it will take you to its definition.
It to you right there.
Yeah, or you can hover over it and see the whole thing.
That's cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's command.
Yep. So I can set the default value here in my definition. Datetime.now. So that's
You're setting defaults for when you add a species in a name, you're setting default like outside, one time, just default.
So
Yep.
now it would be, instead of being 111 like it was before, it's going to be this time. If you didn't specify.
correct. So now instead of every time creating a new one and setting it there, I can just say, hey, if we create a new one, if there's no date time available, use this. Can also do that for that as well. And if we do that, then I can get rid of.
Set up outside too.
So we'll keep that keep
Never know.
that there for now.
Okay.
Yeah, well, this is a default set. Whatever you name it, it's going to be outside.
So same as before, var db equals new Safari.
Wait a minute, if you change the default, would you have to put a put, or can you just do, I guess you do it in the post?
Yeah, you can do it in the post.
If you do it in the post, it'll just not do the default.
Yeah. Eventually, maybe today, probably tomorrow, we're going to expand what we pass in here. So like this half, what we pass in is going to be a bit more complicated. So we'll be able to pass in a whole bunch of initial values.
So when we were doing the last project with the Safarification, I found out that I was writing this var db equal new every time. Is there a way to just place it somewhere that it will kind of read it?
You are about 5 minutes in the future. Yeah.
Daytime.
He's not reading my mind.
Well, var,
So-
he was thinking out loud and I just repeated louder.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we'll just complete this real fast. Scene animals.add animal. This shouldn't be anything too crazy for you, right? Just adding stuff with Entity Framework. db.save changes. And now we need to return something here. Because every controller action, every action inside of an API has to return something. Whether it's just as simple as a OK success, or whether it's complex as a huge object, it has to return something. So what do we want to return here?
And make sure that the entry.
The entry. We want to return the entry. That's a pretty good idea. In fact, best practice is every time our server gets updated from a post or put or delete, we should return what was updated. And so what was updated? The animal. So let's return the animal. So we want to return the animal. And up here we can say, hey, we're actually returning a scene object or scene animal. How are we feeling?
Go back.
We have U2, and then we're going back somewhere.
Refresher.
Fine.
Okay. You don't have to do an endpoint for this post.
Because it's its own method, it's its own endpoint. See how post is by itself? Like post is a method?
Yeah.
Because post is a method inside of our controller, it's now an endpoint inside of our controller.
And what's
So it's just slash animal still?
We just changed the verb. Instead of doing a get, we're going to be doing a post.
Are you doing both? Because it's the same endpoint?
They're different endpoints.
Maybe we'll see it in a second. When you type it into Postman,
So it's going to have the exact same URL,
it's gonna have the same URL.
but the verb is going to be different.
Oh, you're gonna change it with the dropdown.
You're talking about Postman?
Mhm.
Yeah, you change the little box. That's it.
Yeah.
But in your app, it's gonna be like a slash add or something like that, right?
No,
Slash delete. No.
not necessarily. No, you're just changing the verb. So
Not for Postman. Though.
right, even in JavaScript we used fetch, right? Fetch we changed the verb as well. Remember how sometimes we passed in a second object to fetch? Yeah, to change it to a post. Now we can use that to change the verb. Lexi?
So what we're doing, we're creating the API
Mm-hmm.
that is eventually going to reach the developer that's going to use it.
Correct.
So, but any of this in here, like, we're just creating the bone structure right now. And then either we put in the animals or somebody puts in the animals, and
Right.
then it's like the finished product that the developer gets to use. So
Yes.
we're not like just creating the bones where the developer puts in the animals and everything because they have.
But potentially, yeah, we could have put in a couple animals to start them off with. But the idea is that they're going to build some sort of front end app that allows the user to input the animals for them.
So we're not even creating the, because like I'm thinking in terms of like the API, like the pet one where we had like list of pets and then we called it, but it was already there. It was already the list.
We're creating the infrastructure to get that list, to get and create that list.
Okay.
Jason.
So like I'm using React.
Yep.
Capstone. And I was thinking in terms of fetch and using API in there.
Mhm.
Should I mean, is this like ideally what we should be using our API with for that project?
This is what you're going to be building your final project API with. So for you specifically, you have a list of stations. Your controller is going to be relatively simple. Your controller is going to have one endpoint that's going to be a get, that's going to do a database query to get the stations for whatever was passed in.
So how does like if you have multiple APIs, like the Google Maps API also, would that factor into this? Because that's like a step before getting to the stations.
Yeah, that wouldn't factor into this at all. That's
That would just be in React.
yeah, that's a completely client-side thing.
Okay.
That's an API that stands pretty much, you can think, next to your API, and one person is just talking to both of you at the same time.
Back on the Minesweeper API, it says post game/id/check and then post games/id/flag. So are flag and check, those are functions, aren't they?
Flag and check. Actually, forget what that docs look like.
Oh, you don't have to now, but I guess you are.
You can't just bring up a question and not expect me to look at it. It's Minesweeper API.
Minesweeper-api.heroku app.
Wink. So yeah, that's an endpoint. And that is an endpoint. So they are using Router, and we'll get to Router probably early next week or tomorrow. They're saying, hey, this route, this is the blueprint for my route. So they have some controller on the back end that has a method that takes an ID, and it's saying, hey, whenever someone goes to this endpoint, /game/ID/flag, run this code.
So it's running a flag function with the ID as a parameter.
And it's saying, hey, go to this game, check this square, and return the new game board. So do you want to see if this works?
Yep.
And then we'll refactor it to make Gus happy
About?
about not having to reuse DBs everywhere.
Oh, okay.
So my get still goes to my get. But if I want to add something, I want to do a post inside the body.
Not that animal.
I want to add a line to what I've seen. And this is our response. ID 1, insert into the database. Species line, count of time seen 1, location of last seen outside, and last seen at is now.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. All because I changed it to a post up here. I changed it from a get to a post. I kept the same URL, and I added something inside of my body of what I wanted to add. So now if I switch this back to a get, I should see an array of one object of what I just added.
The body, where is the body? Where does it exist in this whole process? Is this, like in the fetch state, is that the body that we, you know what I'm saying? No, I mean, you say body, but where is the body in this context?
So the body is the body of the request.
So that it's somewhere embedded in that URL string.
So think of it like I'm sending you a letter. So that letter itself is the whole request. That letter has an envelope. It has some metadata on it, who it's from, who it's going to. But inside of it, it has a letter. That letter is the body.
Right, but in the creation of this string
Mm-hmm.
is part of that string.
What string are you talking about for that?
Well, the HTTP local host / API animal, somewhere in there has to be a body.
So that's getting wrapped up in that request. So keep on.
You're saying like, how does the user add something?
No, I mean, you're creating, like in Fetch, I remember in Fetch, we were doing a post, but then we were adding information in there.
Mhm.
That whole thing has to be packaged and
Yes.
parsed out to the server.
Mhm.
So, is there communication back and forth that says, hey, API, here's a post, they say, okay, fine, what is it? Back, that whole communication back,
It's just here's a post, here's everything.
okay. So that means that in this post where it says HTTP localhost 5000
Yep.
API animal body
Yes.
information.
Yes. And we can actually see that. So here's the raw HTTP code of what's going on. So it's saying, hey, where am I? I'm doing a post to this URL with this version of HTTP. The host is localhost 5001. Content type is application JSON. No cache. Postman token in case you want it. And then it's just sending over the body. So that's the letter in the envelope that we're sending over.
So it's just pieces. This
Yeah,
whole thing
like
is-
here's everything. Do something with it. And your server's like, okay, here you go.
And I guess in my back of my mind, I'm thinking of the OSI layer. OSI. I think it's the OSI layer, where the whole information gets packaged into an IP address, into the whole thing, and the protocol.
Oh yeah, you don't. That's all under the hood. You don't care about any of that.
Right. But in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this body has to exist somewhere that you're.
Yes.
I mean, it's being separated here for your convenience, but
So posting and getting. Feeling better?
So is it in your database now?
Oh yeah, it's in my database. You want me to check? But I will. So how we feeling?
When do we connect this to the website?
Monday night.
Huh?
Monday night. Part of Monday night's homework is going to be probably a blog and to create a little React app or Vue app to talk to your own API.
the blog.
It might be your last blog.
Blogs
Yeah.
So we're creating a blog.
Yeah,
Like,
about something.
Actually making a blog.
Yeah.
We're not writing.
No,
That
you're
would be better.
you're writing a
I'd
blog.
rather do that.
And then you're gonna write.
You'd rather create a blog than write a blog.
That's definitely.
Sorry.
Like blog.
I've written a couple like non-for.
Yeah.
I personally wish I had more time to blog. I have 2 really good blog articles that I want to write. I just don't have time to. What is it? I know I should.
I subscribe to it.
There's just I get that where like you just want to write it. You want to write it well. It has to be good. So it's hard to get good. Anywho, speaking about getting good, thoughts about the homework. Have 12 minutes left.
It's a lot of work, upfront
Finally,
work.
another one. So this is here in the second item. It says create get search species lion. That returns all animals where the species name contains the title parameter. So basically we only have one lion in our
Or
database.
lion, lionfish.
Oh, okay, that's what you're talking
So
about.
like yeah, so like or I could pass in like
It's a search.
G. I could pass in G and get giraffe and gazelle and gopher.
Now we're talking the other day that we're talking not about names but species per se. So I'm kind of confused. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Did we talk about query parameters?
We could.
No, I mean,
We
It's
will.
in
Did you refactor it?
Oh, I'm gonna refactor it or something new. We'll probably cover it tomorrow.
so it's for the weekend only. That's why.
Did you not read the Slack message?
I did.
Are you sure?
I just said it was for the weekend.
I
So I
advised
knew.
Yeah. So now, as Gus pointed out, we're making up a new DB here, as well as a new DB here, right? So why don't we refactor this so we only have one database connection? So now let's think about this for just 2 seconds. Remember, our controller, we want to have something that's shared within 2 methods. Those 2 methods are on a class. If I want to share a piece of data between 2 methods inside of a class, I should use a property. You know, remember how we use a property? So let's add a property onto our animal controller. Prop of type Safari context. Let's call it DB. And then in my constructor, I can say this.db equals new Safari context. So far, so good?
Controls. You created a
And I'm gonna call
property.
that in instead of this.
Oh, I can just do this now. That's nice.
What's the difference between this and say a global variable?
So this is scoped to animal controller. Global variable is not.
If you put a variable, say, just above, just below public class animal controller, and just say, var db equals blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so if I would just put it like right here, like int x equals 8,
Yeah,
like it's still not global. It's still scoped to animal controller.
Yeah, you have to take it out of that part.
right, so what's the difference between what you just did, that public controller function, and just what int equals x?
This is a property. This is just a variable that's inside of animal controller. So this has all the extra stuff that properties have, and this is just a variable that's there.
Okay.
And eventually, This is going to be private because it really doesn't need to be accessible outside of Animal Controller, right? And eventually this is going to be actually injected with some dependency injection, but not quite yet. But we know what that is now, so it's not so scary. How are we feeling? Ready to start the homework?
Got homework due tomorrow?
Homework's due on Sunday. Did you not read this last message?
Thank you.
Gus.
He duplicated it, and
Say it out loud.
that's just what I did, but I thought it was a smart comment, man.
You might have to.
No, I failed.
You might have to erase the ERD, you know, just put it there.
Yes. Yes. No, the option was to make a shorter assignment that didn't really do much, or make it a slightly bigger assignment and not just have to do it on Sunday. So it's like, you know what, let's make it do it on Sunday. Give you time, give you a couple days to get it done. Give you some free time to work on your capstone project, and your portfolio, and your resume and cover letters, and any assignments that you fell behind on. So yeah, we're doing good. I'm excited. I'm feeling great. I don't know.
I'm so excited.
Are we free?
I think we're free. If everyone's happy, I think dance wants me to be done. So yeah, we're good.